Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to episode 4 of my Ironman Series. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a luxury. You don't have to luxury catch a bunch of Larupias. But those guys dropped big bones, so I actually got a fair amount of pro experience from that whole little ordeal. And it wasn't too bad in the end, but the reason why I was catching those little bad boys with the teasing stick was to get a bunch of furs, as you can see in my inventory. But with 7,000 coins at the ready, I'm not exactly Hugh Hefner at this point. There's no Playboy models waiting to sneak up to this little boy. But what's going to help me get in that kind of step or direction is that I noticed that this guy was buying and selling stripy and red feathers. So I had a few of these left over for when I was hunting tropical wedgetails and crimson swifts. I might have got that backwards. I'll never know. But in the end, I figured out that I needed to start hopping worlds in between selling. Otherwise, I wouldn't get as much coins per feather. But in the end, I made about 3,000 coins for absolutely nothing. So that was pretty nice. And it increased my value, my net worth by a little bit. But it was now time to buy some Larupia. You have to go through a kind of little awkward text dialogue to get to this point. But I decided just to buy a couple here. I didn't want to spend too much money. And in the end, I think 3 sets will definitely be enough. I don't actually think Larupia is very useful at all. At this point, I thought that this would give me an invisible hunter boost. So that's why I went out of my way to get it. But in reality, it does actually nothing at all. It's purely aesthetical. But it was a nice little thing to get done on the side. So my goal for today was to get from 60 to 70 hunter, and finally I managed to achieve that. But of course I had a bit of spare time left over, so I thought why not smash out 73 and unlock the old black chin chompers. Alright, so I've run into a fairly big issue, and it hasn't exactly happened right now, but there it is. There's one of the traps that just didn't work. So what's happened here is that the Corporal Beast has been released recently, which is all great and all, but when it comes to world DDoSes and worlds just going down in general, it's taken a bit of a spike. And as you see here, when I DC out, I can't actually pick up my own traps. For some reason, the game thinks that these traps are not mine. So instead of people stealing them or whatever, the issue is that I just can't pick them back up once they've disconnected me from the server. So sometimes, as you see, I'm able to pick up 1 or 2 of them, and I think it honestly depends on what state the trap was in prior to the server disconnecting. So sometimes I get lucky, a lot of times I don't, and I won't be able to set up a trap here for a while, which is unfortunate. There it goes. But I'm currently at 76 hunter, not exactly close, not exactly far away. But I've thought about trying out black chins. I've never done them before. And as much as I'd love to do them, I'm so butthurt that they're in the wilderness. I don't feel like the most efficient method of skilling should be in the wilderness for any skill. So it is a bit sucky that I might have to go and resort to do it, but I think I can stick to red chins for quite some time, considering I did it to 99 on time wasted. So I don't mind either way. I might give black chins a go, but I'm not too sure. For those wondering why there's text above my boxes, it's just from OS Buddy, just a heads up. But I was also tempted to go and try out some Puro Puro pre-83, but I'll only do that if I'm super desperate, because I'll be extremely unsatisfied with life if I come across a Dragon Impling and I'm not able to snatch it up. But in the meantime, whilst I've got a few more boxes left, I will stay here. But if the servers disconnect again, surprisingly, like a bit of fun fact here, but I think I was getting higher XP rates per hour when I was doing Falconry. Obviously, the advantage of doing chinchompers is that you get chinchompers. So Falconry doesn't give me any ranged XP in the long run, but it does give me some prayer XP. So I might be looking forward, to go back there. And because I'm past 69, I'll be able to get the Kebbit that allows me to get Spottier Cape. So I'm going to go there regardless. I think when I run out of traps is when I'll pay my next visit to the Falconry area. But hopefully that's not for a very long time. But at the rate it's going at the moment, it might not be long at all. Okay, so a bot has just logged in, put some traps down, and logged out. So if that's a bot being banned, I'm pretty happy to see that. It's a glorious sight, but the only thing that does suck about the situation is that I can't pick up his trap. So rest in peace, Puck 304. You are the bot that I will miss the most. And there it is again. So I'll see if I get lucky this time. Fingers crossed, but I highly doubt I'm going to get any of these traps back. And the moment of truth. Nope. 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 And nope. So, yeah, I think I'm done here. It's a slight glitch that I really am not happy to be a victim of. I also found a small glitch. I guess I can try and replicate it. I can at least show you what happened, but essentially what happened was that I logged in the Lumbridge Castle. If you remember, I was talking about that, how I was training my fletching and fire making early game. I managed to pick up a piece of ash that somebody had lit the log on fire with. That didn't make sense, but hopefully you know what I'm trying to say. So what's happened is that the guy has lit the log on fire and the fire's burnt out. And the ashes that were dropped from this fire, I was able to loot. I didn't actually want them, but I was able to loot them. So that was kind of concerning, and I hope there isn't any like Ironman game-breaking mechanics in this game that have been overlooked that will destroy the integrity or authenticity of any Ironman in the future. But yeah, there's a few little bugs that I'm noticing, and I'm not really they're not massive, but hopefully there's not anything worse than that. So what I'm going to go do now, considering that I just can't box trap at the moment without losing my traps quite quickly, I'm actually going to go to the Falconry area and get some Cabot fur to get a spottier cape. So I've just caught my first dashing Cabot. Dashing indeed, but I wanted to show you guys how I was getting higher EXP rates at this place than I was at Chinchompas. Now that I've unlocked dashing Cabots, I might be able to do this even better. But essentially what I found out was that if you can find where 2 Cabots spawn, that's probably not the best way to do that. But if you can find 2 Cabots to spawn, depending on your level, obviously, kind of dictates the XP per hour. But for example, what I've got going on here, 2 Cabots side by side, and they are the 2 highest ones I can catch. If I alternate between these two with a semi-low failure rate, and I can kind of keep it manageable to be where as long as one's like dead, the other one's alive, and they kind of just flip-flop between the two and they don't wander off too far. If you can maintain that for quite some time, you'll find that you actually get an absolute poo load of experience per hour. I managed to get between a dark Cabot and a spotted Cabot. You would see the spawn I used for this one here. I think in this tile here, this spotted Cabot spawns, and in that tile close by to that dark Cabot is where that one spawns. So I was just going in between these two. I'm not sure if there's any better areas, but from what I tried out, like 70k an hour is nothing to complain about, especially at level 60ish. So that was the method I was using, but now I'm just going to use this to get some dashing Cabot fur. I thought I'd include a little bit of a clip when stuff's going right, when you get the little spawn trapping kind of situation in a position where you want it to be. Ideally, this is what you want it to kind of look like. I wasn't able to do it 100% what I was going to trying to achieve live when I was recording, but I kind of just recorded for about 2 minutes or so, and then this is just a bit of cherry-picked footage just to showcase a little bit of what you can expect to get when you're properly doing this method. I don't really know if anybody's really shown this method or if it's even that good, but I find it pretty fun, and it got me a lot of Prayer as well as Hunter experience, and in the end it allowed me to get a step in the right direction towards getting 80, so that's pretty cool that I've now got that. I've got the ability to use 5 traps when catching Chinchompas, and I thought I'd just go for a bit of a run. Coincidentally, there was a box trap there, and it gave me 83 Hunter. How convenient! But now I've unlocked the ability to catch Dragon Implings, and this is where the money will start to roll in, but a slight little detour needed to be made. To access Puro Puro, I need to be able to get into Zenaris first, so what that means is that I need to get myself 31 crafting to unlock the requirements for the Lost City quest. So I picked a bunch of flax at the Grand Tree Gnome Village. I don't know what's so grand about that place, but in the end, I got 30 crafting from the flax, and I finished off 31 with a few leathers that I had in the bank. So after that, I decided to use some of the furs that I got over at the Cabots and decided to buy some spottier capes. These are really good weight reduction capes, and they're probably one of my favorite capes in the game. If only they had a +4 strength bonus, but eventually Lost City wasn't too difficult. Getting the requirements is pretty much the hardest part about that whole ordeal. But now it's time to check out what Puro Puro had to offer me. So this was something that I've been waiting for a long time to kind of go for. 83 Hunter. The build-up was all about getting to this place, and eventually I found myself my first Dragon Impling. Unfortunately, though, the incident happened. So what happens in Puro Puro when you use all of your impling jars before like unlocking the jar generator? What ends up happening is that you run out of jars and you have no way to get any back. So what ends up happening is that you need to go on a fucking goose chase that has around 4 or 5 different steps, but because I didn't have the requirements to complete these steps, I ended up having to do quests as well. So what I need to do here is cook some anchovies and grind them up with a pestle of mortar to create some anchovy paste. And you saw I got a item before from the chemist. That item is known as a sieve. What ends up happening now is that I need to kind of combine a bunch of things here to get anchovy oil and use some of the mythical seeds that I got from the waterfall quest to create some flowers. These flowers, of course, it wouldn't be that simple. I need to use these on the potion to create an imp repellent, and from there, a bunch of stuff needs to be done, and eventually you get to the point where you can create some oil that you can use on a regular butterfly jar to create yourself an impling jar. That was the longest hour and a half ever condensed into a minute, but long story short is, if you go to Puro Puro, I highly recommend getting this jar generator before you do what I did, because that was absolutely painful, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody else. So after surviving the emotional apocalypse, I decided to actually use these jars that I had finally worked so hard to re-obtain and actually catch some Dragon Implings. And here's a little mashup of what I was able to get today. It wasn't everything that I wanted, but basically all that I really need at this point is an Amulet of Glory. If you're an Ironman, you know how important that can be. Like, even the base stats of it are just fantastic. Not to mention the added benefit of having some really good teleports and the ability to mount a glory in your house. But this was the end of the day, and I managed to finally rip out some Amulet of Glories from a Dragon Imp. But that was really nice to get. Okay, so this should be pretty much the last imp I catch, if I do manage to catch it. Unfortunately, it's not a Dragon Imp, but if you guys were wondering why you saw like the name of the imp above it, as well as on the minimap, that is an OS Buddy Pro feature. And the reason why I no longer have it is because they had a free weekend, so I thought I would use it to my advantage whilst I had it, but now I no longer do. And I also have all the items that I want at this stage, namely just the Glory Emmy, but that plugin is insane. I don't want to say it's OP, but it's OP, and I loved it. It made this whole scanning the imp world so much quicker, and it allowed you to keep track of the one that you're hunting so much easier. But I think that whole running out of pro and the whole wanting to leave kind of lined up well, and I've got 2 magpies here, and it's been a trek because, as you see, I don't use snares for this. I can't be affording to throw out 720 coins to hold a magpie down for a little bit, and it's obviously worth it potentially if there's a dragon, but my mage level isn't even that high enough to really hold it for that long, so those 2 things kind of worked against me, and I don't even know if I'm going to get these 2 magpies. But yeah, if you've ever been at this minigame, you'll realize how quickly these fuckers can get out of hand, and you can just end up going on a wild goose chase. But the reason why I feel like stopping here is because what I'm going to do once I've inevitably either given up or caught this, I've noticed actually this tile is like a checkmate tile, and if they're in this tile, generally you can catch up to them because they will stay there for a while. I've noticed that with this tile here and this one here. It also works in the opposite corner, but I think I shall call it quits for now because I've been here for, I don't even know, maybe 15-20 hours. So I'm not too sure if I should keep staying here, but essentially I need to get moving on with other things. I've now spent 3 or 4 days on Hunter, which has been approximately 50% of my Ironman experience so far. So I really need to kind of divert away from that, but the main news is that we got an Amulet of Glory, We also got 2 more of those in the bank, which is sweet. I was initially planning on getting 30 of them for rune crafting, but that is so far away from me right now, and I just don't have the patience to keep going on with this Puro Puro. What really surprised me about this minigame is that there was a bunch of people doing it that aren't Ironman, and I don't really understand. I was even competing against a guy with a mining cape, and it really confused me. I'm pretty sure if you're not Iron Man, there's a lot of better ways to make money, but to each their own. It's a pretty fun mini game, and if you've just unlocked it, I can kind of understand. But for the most part, if you're Iron Man, this is insane, because you guys will know how poor I am, and I'll re-emphasize it once we get to the bank. I might take all this stuff off, but essentially I have a lot of money now, kind of, in a way, but I ended up making my spottier capes, as you would have seen. I've got 3 of them, but this is my entire cash stack, 1600 coins, and the bank. I guess you guys don't get to see it in its complete glory all the time. Some of these arrows would have been from fire giants, which is why they're not in my Puro Puro tab. But yeah, I'm pretty poor. The too long didn't read version is that I am quite poor. However, I have a saving grace. 7,600 chins is obviously not worth anything, but it's good to have. It'll get me some range levels when I decide to use them. And I think it's about time we check out the Puro Puro tab, if I'm totally honest. So we deposit everything in here. I made a massive mistake, as you would have seen. No, I probably would have gotten into it in a bit of detail in the previous clips, but I used all my impling jars before I had the ability to make new ones, so that sent me on a bit of a detour, but nonetheless it was kind of enjoyable doing some quests in order to unlock some more impling jars. But yeah, this is my loot from anywhere between 10 hours to 15 hours of Puro Puro, I dare say. I'm really happy with it. Even this, like, things like mithril pickaxes and earth tiaras may not seem like much, but to me they're actually really valuable. The myth pickaxe, not so much so because I can buy it in a store, but an earth tiara, I'm sure to get some utility. I have 55 rings of life, so I'm going to be alching quite a lot of those, and these rings of forging will be huge, because I was really concerned. Sorry if it sounds like I've just drank a bucket of sand or something, but what I get out of the bank, I don't even know. I was really concerned with how I'm going to train my range, but this is pretty much just set it into stone that I'm going to be mining iron and smithing it into iron bars, and then from there I'm not too sure whether I want to make darts or iron knives. I'm pretty sure that darts will give me twice as many. I just need to add feathers. So if that's correct, I'll be using darts, but if they're the exact same ratio, I will be using knives, because I don't see any benefit about losing feathers without any. Okay, it does make 10, so yeah, I think it will be iron darts for quite some time. Looks like I forgot to take off a few things. So yeah, this tab is essentially everything I have, everything worth anything. So I was collecting essence implings for a tad bit. I'll see if I've actually got enough for a few more halves. There we go, that's beautiful. So obviously I would have connected them earlier, but sometimes you don't get the ones that you need during the trip and you just bank them. And I was lucky enough, by the looks of it, to get a good ratio, but if we look at, we got 8 keys total and 1 remaining tooth, so that's actually perfect. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. So this tab is going to fuel my bank for quite some time. The problem is I'm stuck at a dilemma. 49 mage, I need 55 for high elk. You probably know that by now, but my plan is to get 52 and pop boost up with the wizard mind bomb to 55. Elk a bunch of things. I've only got 100 nats, but that should be get me covered if I elk things like dragon daggers. So once I do that, I'll have a lot of money, and once I have enough money, I'm gonna go to lava dragons and get some mage XP. And these buggers, I don't know if I'm gonna get PK'd much. Hopefully my bank account will be good enough to the point where I don't really mind. But once I get to lavas and I start getting some prayer, what's really OP about the lava dragons is if you bury the bones on the dragon isle, you get 255 prayer XP, like just burying them. You don't have to use them in an ecto altar or anything like that. So you skip the whole middleman process of all that stuff. So 43 prayer will be a piece of piss once I have the runes for it. But yeah, with all that stuff, I think it should be fairly easy to come by the cash money. But yeah, so 5 glories in total once I get the ability to imbue that, and obviously 8 crystal keys will give me another 8 dragon stones on top of the 3 I already have. So if it can't push comes to shove, I essentially have 14 glories. I didn't really do the math in my head, but I've pretty much got 50% of what I want in the long run, so I'm super happy about that. And a lot of this stuff I don't know what I'm going to do with, but hopefully I'll find some utility throughout the process of this whole Ironman experience. So my total's at 640 right now. I think I might go bust some quests out. I wanted to get, I get the feeling like this is all, these clips are kind of all mashed together quite poorly, and there's a lot of rushness without a lot of commentary. So I thought I would include a bit of a longer clip this time because unfortunately I don't have a lot of time to do vocal recording. Things like background noise get in the way quite a lot, so I don't feel comfortable recording in those conditions. But yeah, got a bit out of me for now. But yeah, I think I might move on with the Ironman account and let the progress flow some more.